At my son's wedding, my new daughter-in-law grabbed the microphone and announced to 200 guests that she'd generously arranged for me to move into assisted living. 10 minutes later, I discovered why. While I was clapping and smiling in that ballroom, her family was already moving into my farmhouse without my permission. The wedding was everything Harper had dreamed of. White roses cascading down marble columns, a 7-tier cake that cost more than my first car, string quartet, open bar, the kind of event where even the napkins had monograms. I wore a dress I'd bought on sale 3 months earlier. Navy blue. Simple. Appropriate for the mother of the groom who knew her place was to smile, stay quiet, and not embarrass anyone. My son Liam looked handsome in his tuxedo. Tall, confident. So different from the boy I'd raised in a cramped apartment where the heat sometimes didn't work. Harper floated down the aisle in a dress that cost more than 6 months of my mortgage. She was beautiful, glowing. And when she said "I do," Liam looked at her like she'd hung the moon. I sat in the 3rd row and tried not to think about the 3 jobs I'd worked to pay his tuition. Tried not to notice that Harper's parents had 50 guests on their side and I had 3. The reception was held in a banquet hall with chandeliers and a skyline view. Speeches started after dinner. Harper's father went first, talking about family legacy and welcoming Liam into the fold like he was a prize acquisition. Then Harper stood up. She tapped her champagne glass until the room quieted. The DJ lowered the music. A spotlight found her at the head table. "I have a very special announcement," she said into the microphone, her smile wide and perfect. "As you all know, Liam and I want to start our family right away. We want our children to grow up with space, with nature, with family support." Applause. A few ahs from the crowd. "That's why," she continued, her eyes finding mine across the room, "I've been working on a very special surprise for my new mother-in-law, Eleanor." My stomach dropped. "Eleanor has been living alone on a beautiful farmhouse for years now," Harper said, voice dripping with concern. "And while we love that she's independent, we worry about her safety. The house is old. The property is isolated. She's had some falls. I had fallen once. Tripped over a garden hose. So," Harper announced, reaching for Liam's hand, "we've arranged for Eleanor to move into Meadowbrook Senior Living, a wonderful assisted care facility just outside the city. She'll have nurses, activities, community, safety." The room erupted into polite applause. People turned to look at me with sympathetic smiles. "And," Harper continued, raising her voice, "my parents will be moving into the farmhouse to help us when the baby comes. It's the perfect solution. Eleanor gets the care she deserves, and we get to raise our family in a home filled with love." More applause. Someone said, "How generous." Another voice said, "What a blessing." I sat frozen, hands clenched in my lap. Liam stood beside Harper, arm around her waist. "Mom," he said into the mic, "I know change is hard, but this is what's best for everyone. You'll love Meadowbrook. We already toured it. They have a garden, game nights, book clubs. You won't be lonely anymore. If you've ever had a narcissistic daughter-in-law announce your future to a crowd without asking you first, tell me in the comments what word they used. Generous? Thoughtful? Caring? I want to know what flavor of elder abuse you were served. They were talking about my life like it was a problem they'd solved. My farmhouse like it was theirs to redistribute." Harper's mother, Linda, stood and raised her glass. "To family," she said. "To taking care of each other." "To family," the room echoed. I stood up slowly, legs shaking. Harper's smile faltered when she saw me moving toward the exit instead of the stage. "Mom?" Liam called after me. "Where are you going?" I didn't answer. I walked past tables of strangers, past the champagne fountain, past the 7-tier cake, and out into the cool night air. My phone buzzed in my purse. A text from my neighbor, Sarah. "Eleanor, are you okay? 3 people just pulled up to your farmhouse with a moving truck. They said Liam gave them keys. I didn't know you were moving." My vision tunneled. My hands went cold. I called her immediately. "Sarah," I said, voice shaking, "I'm not moving. I didn't give anyone permission." "Oh God," she whispered. "Eleanor, they're unloading furniture. They've opened all the windows. Every light is on. It looks like they're moving in." I hung up and ran to my car, heels clicking on pavement. My hands fumbled with my keys. While I had been sitting in that ballroom, smiling through speeches and clapping through toasts, strangers had driven to my home, used keys I didn't know they had, and started unpacking their lives into my house. I pulled out of the parking lot so fast my tires squealed. Behind me, music started up again inside the hall. Laughter floated through the open doors. Somewhere in there, my son was probably making excuses for me, telling people I was emotional, not handling change well. But I wasn't driving away from a party. I was driving toward a war. The highway stretched dark ahead of me. My phone kept buzzing. Liam calling. I ignored it. This was financial elder abuse dressed up as a surprise gift. This was my own son helping strangers steal my home while I clapped for cake. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard they ached. By the time I turned onto the country road leading to my farm, I'd made a decision. They wanted to treat my home like it was theirs to give away. They were about to learn what happens when you walk into a house that doesn't belong to you. The gate came into view, wide open. I never left my gate open. My heart hammered as I drove up the lane. And then I saw it, every single window blazing with light. The porch, the kitchen, the upstairs bedrooms, even the garage. A moving truck sat in my driveway, ramp down, back still open. I parked behind it, blocking it in. If they wanted to leave, they'd have to ask me to move first. Music drifted from inside. Voices, laughter, the clatter of dishes. I walked up my own porch steps feeling like an intruder. The front door was unlocked, propped open with one of my kitchen chairs. I stepped inside. Boxes stacked in the entryway. Suitcases against the wall. A man's jacket on my coat rack. Muddy shoes scattered near the door. I followed the noise to the kitchen. Harper's mother stood at my stove, stirring something in a pot. Harper's father sat at my table with a beer, feet up on another chair. Harper's sister leaned against the counter, scrolling her phone. They looked up when I walked in. "Eleanor," Linda said brightly, like we were old friends. "You're back early. We thought you'd stay for the whole reception. There's lasagna if you're hungry." "You made it," I repeated slowly, in my kitchen, with my stove, in my house. "Well, yes," Linda said, smile faltering. "Harper said you wouldn't mind." "Get out of my house," I said. The room went silent. "Excuse me?" Linda said. I repeated louder, "Get out of my house." While the DJ turned the music up inside that ballroom, 3 strangers were turning on every light in my farmhouse. I was about to walk into my own home as an intruder, but only one of us had the deed. The silence in my kitchen was thick enough to choke on. Harper's sister, Tiffany, snorted. "You're being dramatic." Harper and Liam already explained everything. "This is happening. You're moving to Meadowbrook. We're staying here. It's decided." "Decided by who?" I asked, my voice cold and steady. "Because I own this house. My name is on the deed. I paid the mortgage for 20 years. And I sure as hell didn't give any of you permission to walk through my door." Richard stood up, face reddening. "Now listen here." "No," I interrupted. "You listen. You are trespassing. That's the legal term. You're in my home without my consent. You have 2 choices. Leave now, or I call the sheriff and he removes you." Linda's face went pale. "You wouldn't." Harper said. "I don't care what Harper said," I replied. "Harper doesn't own this house. Neither does Liam. I do. And you're leaving." "This is insane," Tiffany snapped. "Where are we supposed to go? It's almost midnight." "That's not my problem," I said. "You chose to come here without asking. You can choose to leave before the police arrive." Richard's jaw clenched. "Liam is going to hear about this." "Good," I said. "Tell him. Tell him his mother came home to find 3 strangers cooking in her kitchen. Tell him she said leave and you refused. Let's see how that conversation goes." Linda tried a softer approach. "Eleanor, please, be reasonable. We have nowhere else to go tonight. Can't we just talk about this in the morning? We're family now." "Family asks permission," I said. "Family respects boundaries. You ambushed me at my son's wedding and moved into my house while I was clapping. That's not family. That's theft." "Just a house," Tiffany muttered. "Let me tell you about this just a house," I said quietly. I worked 3 jobs after my husband died to keep a roof over my son's head. I scrubbed office toilets at midnight to pay for textbooks. I sold pies at farmers' markets in the freezing cold to save for this land. This house is 30 years of sacrifice. Every birthday I worked through. Every vacation I never took. This is my freedom. My proof that I survived. I paused. "So no, it's not just a house. It's my life. And you don't get to walk in and take it." The room was silent. "You have 10 minutes to grab essentials and leave," I said, pulling out my phone. "The rest you can get tomorrow with my permission." If you're still here in 11 minutes, I'm calling 911. I set a timer and pressed start. For 9 minutes and 40 seconds, I stood in my kitchen and watched them scramble. Suitcases dragged downstairs, boxes shoved into the truck, angry whispers. When the timer hit 0, they were by the truck, glaring at me from the driveway. "We'll be back tomorrow," Richard said. "With my permission, during daylight hours," I replied. "Or not at all." Their truck pulled away, taillights disappearing down the lane. I stood on the porch until I couldn't see them anymore. Then I walked inside, locked the door, and did something I should have done years ago. I called a lawyer. Daniel Moreno answered on the 4th ring. "Ms. Hart?" His voice was groggy but kind. "I need help," I said. "My son just tried to give my house away." "I'm listening," he said. I told him everything. The wedding announcement, the Sterlings moving in, the confrontation. By the time I finished, he was wide awake. "Do you own the property outright?" he asked. "Yes. My name only. Mortgage paid off last year." "Did you give anyone power of attorney?" "No." "Then what they did is trespassing," he said simply. "Possibly breaking and entering." He paused. "Ms. Hart, I need you to understand something. This might escalate. Your son might try to claim you're not competent to manage your own affairs. We need to protect you legally. Now. If you're over 50 and someone in your family is already planning your future without asking you, listen carefully. This is how it starts." "What do I do?" I asked. "First thing tomorrow, come to my office," he said. "We'll draft a will, a medical directive, and documentation proving you're fully competent. If anyone tries to file for guardianship later, we'll have a paper trail showing this was planned, not necessary." I felt sick. My own son, trying to declare me incompetent so he could take my house. "We won't let that happen," Mr. Moreno said firmly. That night, I didn't sleep. I walked through my house, touching walls, checking locks, making sure they were really gone. In the guest bedroom, they'd made the bed with their own sheets. I stripped it bare and threw everything in the hallway. This was my house, my space, and I was taking it back. The next morning, 17 missed calls waited on my phone. 12 from Liam, 3 from Harper, 2 from unknown numbers. I ignored all of them and drove to town. Mr. Moreno's office smelled like old books and coffee. He had papers ready. "We're going to make you legally bulletproof," he said. We spent 2 hours going through documents. A will, a directive, proof of competency. "Who inherits the property?" he asked. I hesitated. "Can I leave it to someone other than Liam?" "It's your property," he said. "You can leave it to anyone." I thought of Sarah, of the women at the factory who'd worked their whole lives and retired with nothing. "What if I left it to a charity?" I asked. "Something that helps older women with housing?" "That's a powerful choice," he said, "and it sends a clear message." By the time I left, I had copies of everything. Legal protection, a plan. That afternoon, I called a locksmith. He changed every lock. Front door, back door, side entrance, basement. When he handed me the new keys, shiny and cold, I felt something shift. I was the only person who could open my doors now. Next, I called a security company. Cameras at the gate, above the porch, motion sensors, an alarm system that would alert police automatically if anyone tried to get in. By sunset, my farmhouse was a fortress. New locks, cameras, legal documents filed. I sat on the porch with tea and looked out over my land. This was mine, and no one was taking it again. My phone buzzed. Another call from Liam. I let it go to voicemail. "Mom," his voice said, tight with frustration. "You can't just kick Harper's parents out like that. You're being selfish and cruel. Call me back so we can talk like adults." Selfish, cruel, adults. I deleted the message and blocked his number. If he wanted to talk to me, he could come to my door during daylight and ask permission like every other person on Earth. I armed the security system. The panel beeped twice. A red light glowed. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. 3 days later, they came back. I was in the garden when my phone chimed. Motion detected at front gate. I checked the camera feed. A silver SUV at the gate. The Sterlings. I watched Richard get out and try to open it. The new padlock held firm. He rattled it, then pulled out his phone. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Eleanor," Richard's voice came through, tight with annoyance. "We're at your gate. Let us in. We need our things." You can pick them up between 2 and 4 tomorrow, I said calmly, with advance notice. We're here now, he snapped. Open the gate. No, I replied. If you're still there in 5 minutes, I'm calling the sheriff. I watched the camera feed. They argued in the SUV for 3 minutes, then backed out and left. I took a screenshot and saved it. That evening, Liam showed up. I saw his car on the camera before I heard the knock. I spoke through the door. What do you want, Liam? Mom, open the door. We need to talk. We can talk like this. He sighed heavily. Mom, this is out of control. Harper's parents just need their stuff. Why are you making this difficult? They can get it tomorrow, between 2 and 4, with notice, I said. Like I told them. Why all the rules? They're family. They're people who moved into my house without asking, I corrected. If they were strangers, you'd call them criminals. You're being unreasonable. I'm being clear, I replied. There's a difference. Silence. Mom, he said finally, voice softer. We made a mistake. We should have talked to you first. But you're blowing this out of proportion. We were trying to help. By taking my house? By giving you somewhere safer, he said. You're alone. You've fallen. The house is old. We were worried. I fell once, I said. That doesn't make me incompetent. We never said that. You announced at your wedding that I was being moved into assisted living, I said, voice rising. You didn't ask. You announced. To 200 people. While your in-laws were unloading furniture into my house. You ambushed me, Liam. He was quiet. I didn't think of it like that, he said finally. Then you weren't thinking of me at all. What do you want from me? He asked, sounding tired. I want you to leave, I said. And understand this. This house is mine. If you ever try to take it again, I will fight you in court and I will win. Mom, do you understand? Yes, he whispered. Good. Now go home. I heard his footsteps retreat. His car starting, gravel crunching. I leaned against the door and closed my eyes. The next afternoon at 2 p.m., the Sterlings returned. I opened the gate remotely and waited on the porch. They loaded boxes without looking at me, worked quickly, silently, angrily. When they finished, Linda paused at the steps. You're going to regret this, she said coldly. When you're old and alone and need help, don't come crying to us. I'd rather be alone in my own house, I replied, than surrounded by people who think I owe them my freedom. She got in the truck without another word. I watched them leave and knew they wouldn't be back. That evening, I called Mr. Moreno. They got their things. It's over, I said. For now, he replied. Keep your documentation. Keep cameras on. If they try anything legal, we're ready. You did good, Ms. Hart, he added. A lot of people wouldn't have fought. After hanging up, I walked through my house. Empty, quiet, mine. I locked the doors, armed the system, made dinner in my own kitchen. For the first time since the wedding, I felt safe. The weeks after were the quietest I'd had in months. No visitors, no calls, just silence stretching peaceful across my days. I fell into a new routine. Morning coffee on the porch, garden work, afternoons fixing small things, a loose floorboard, a squeaky hinge. Every repair felt like reclaiming something. I started going back to the farmer's market on Saturdays. I brought jams from my garden, small loaves of bread, honey from my bees. My table was small, tucked between vegetables and handmade soaps. But it was mine. One Saturday, a woman in her 50s stopped at my table. She picked up strawberry jam, studied the label, looked up. You're Eleanor, right? I nodded. I heard what happened, she said quietly. At your son's wedding. I think you're brave. My daughter tried to get me to sell my house last year, said I couldn't manage anymore. I almost did it. Then I heard your story. I told her no. I'm still in my house. Because of you. She bought 3 jars and squeezed my hand. Thank you. After that, more people came. Word spread. The woman who kicked out her in-laws. The mother who called police on family. The widow who wouldn't give up her farm. Some whispered. Some judged. But more stopped to say thank you. To share their own stories. To admit they'd let family take advantage because they didn't know they were allowed to say no. If you're watching and life has taught you to always say yes, hear this. Your no might be the bravest thing you ever say. I also finalized my will with Mr. Moreno. The farmhouse would go to a local nonprofit helping older women find safe housing. Women like me who'd worked their whole lives and still ended up vulnerable. Are you sure? He asked. Liam is your only child. I'm sure, I said. This house is my legacy. I want it to help women who need it, not reward someone who tried to take it from me. He nodded and filed the papers. On what would have been my 38th anniversary with James, I planted an oak tree in the front yard. Young, strong, built to last. James, I said quietly, I finally did it. I finally have something no one can take. The wind rustled the leaves. One evening, Sarah came over with casserole and wine. You've been too quiet, she said. I wanted to check on you. We sat on the porch while the sun set. Do you miss him? She asked carefully. Liam? Every day, I admitted. I miss the boy he was. But the man who tried to take my house? I don't know if I ever knew that person. You did the right thing, Sarah said. I know. But knowing doesn't make it easier. She poured more wine. For what it's worth, you're the strongest woman I know. I'm not strong, I said. I'm just tired of being weak. That night, after Sarah left, I walked through my house, touching walls, running my hand along door frames. This was mine. And it would stay mine until I decided otherwise. Not because Liam allowed it. Not because Harper approved. Not because the Sterlings agreed. Because I earned it. I fought for it. I won. The security system beeped as I armed it. Cameras watched the darkness. New locks held firm. For the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't just surviving. I was living. On my terms. And if that made me selfish in their eyes, I'd rather be selfish and safe than generous and homeless. 6 months after the wedding, I saw Liam again. I was at the farmer's market, arranging apple butter jars, when I looked up, and there he was. Standing a few feet away, hands in pockets, looking uncertain. He'd lost weight, shadows under his eyes. He looked older, tired. Mom, he said quietly. Liam, I replied, can we talk? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to protect my peace. But another part, the part that still remembered rocking him through nightmares, couldn't turn him away completely. 5 minutes, I said. Help me pack up. He stepped forward and started folding the table without a word. We worked in silence, loading jars, collapsing the tent. When we finished, I gestured to a bench. We sat, careful distance between us. I'm sorry, he said. I waited. I've thought about what I did every day for 6 months. The wedding, the announcement, your keys, trying to force you out. It was wrong. All of it. Yes, I said simply. Harper and I have been fighting, he continued, about money, her parents, you. She thinks I should have fought harder for the farmhouse. Her parents keep asking for money, help, space. I finally told them no. They called me ungrateful, selfish. He laughed bitterly. I never realized how much those words hurt until they were directed at me. I let him sit with that. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away, he said. I don't deserve that. But I need you to know I finally understand. I treated you like a problem to solve instead of a person. I let Harper convince me that taking your house was helping you. It wasn't. It was helping them. He looked at me, eyes red. I'm ashamed, Mom. I appreciate you saying that, I said carefully. But apologies don't undo damage. You humiliated me. You tried to take the one thing I worked 30 years to earn. I know, he whispered. What's different now? I asked. Are you here because you're sorry, or because things are hard with Harper, and you need your mom again? I'm here because I miss you, he said, and because I don't want to lose you completely. You can't have it both ways, I said. You can't try to evict me, then show up 6 months later expecting everything to be fine. I don't expect that, he said quickly. I just want a chance. To rebuild, to show you I'm different. I studied his face. The boy I raised was still in there somewhere. But so was the man who'd announced my eviction on stage. If you want to be in my life, I said slowly, there are rules. Okay. Tell me. You never make decisions about my life without asking. Ever. Not my house. Not my health. Nothing. He nodded. You don't bring Harper or her family here without permission. If they ask about my property, you say that's my mother's decision, not mine. Understood. And, I said firmly, you accept that I've changed my will. This house doesn't go to you when I die. It goes to charity. I'm telling you now so there's no confusion later. He flinched, but nodded. Okay. I'm not doing it to punish you, I added. I'm doing it because this house represents survival. I wanted to help other women survive too. I get it, he said quietly. We sat in silence. Have you met your granddaughter? He asked carefully. I saw the photo online, I admitted. She's beautiful. She is, he said, small smile breaking through. She looks like Harper but frowns like you when she's concentrating. My chest tightened. What's her name? Rose, he said. Rose Eleanor. My breath caught. You named her after me? Middle name. Harper picked Rose. I picked Eleanor. I wanted her to have a piece of you even if you never met her. Tears stung my eyes. Would you ever want to meet her? He asked. Not at our house. Not with Harper's family. Just you, me, and Rose. Maybe here. Or at the farm someday if you're ready. I thought about that little girl. Innocent. Part of me. Part of Liam. Maybe someday. I said honestly. When I can look at her and not see the day you tried to take my house. He nodded. I'll wait. However long it takes. He stood. Can I help you carry boxes to your truck? Yes, I said. We walked across the parking lot, him carrying heavier boxes. When everything was loaded, he paused. I love you, Mom. I know I haven't acted like it. But I do. I know, I replied. But love isn't enough without respect. I'm learning that. He got in his car and drove away. I sat in my truck, hands on the wheel, emotions swirling. I had my son back in some form, but it wasn't the same. Maybe it never would be, and maybe that was okay. When I got home, the farmhouse glowed in late afternoon sun. The oak tree swayed in the breeze. The garden was thick with vegetables. I parked, grabbed boxes, walked to the front door, slid my key in, turned it, stepped inside. My house, my rules, my life. For the first time in months, I didn't feel angry or sad. Just clear. Maybe one day little Rose Eleanor would run through these fields. Maybe she'd sit on this porch and ask me to tell her stories. If that day came, it would be because her father finally learned what mine means, not because I gave it away to keep the peace. If you stayed with me to the end of this story, I want to tell you something important. This isn't just about a farmhouse. It's about every woman who's been told that setting boundaries makes her selfish, that saying no makes her cruel, that protecting what she earned makes her ungrateful. For 30 years, I said yes to everything. Yes to overtime. Yes to sacrifice. Yes to putting everyone else's needs before mine. I thought that's what good mothers did. I was wrong. Good mothers teach their children that love has limits, that generosity doesn't mean self-destruction, that you can care about someone deeply and still tell them no. My son tried to take my house because I'd spent a lifetime teaching him I'd never say no. That lesson almost cost me everything. If you're over 50 and someone in your family is already planning your future, already talking about what they'll do with your house, already suggesting you can't manage alone, listen to me. You are not overreacting. You are not being paranoid. That tight feeling in your chest is your instinct trying to save you. Check your deed. Know who's on it. Change your locks if you need to. Get a lawyer. Put protections in place now, while you still can. Because elder financial abuse doesn't always look like theft. Sometimes it looks like concern. Like family helping family. Like a daughter-in-law with a microphone announcing your future while everyone claps. I almost lost my farmhouse. But more than that, I almost lost myself. I almost believed the lie that needing space and security at 64 made me selfish. It doesn't. You are allowed to own things, to keep them, to pass them on to whoever you choose. Your children are not entitled to your life's work just because they're your children. Love is not the same as obligation. After the market that day, I drove home and did something I'd been putting off. I walked to the mailbox and found a letter waiting. Official looking, county seal. Inside was confirmation. My will was filed. My medical directive was registered. My house, my land, my life's work would go to the Haven House Project, a nonprofit that helps older women find safe housing after divorce, abuse, or financial hardship. Women like I almost became. I sat on my porch and read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my safe, next to the deed with my name on it. That evening, Sarah came by with fresh bread. You look different, she said, studying my face. I feel different, I admitted. She smiled. You should. You won. Not just the house. You won yourself back. We sat and watched the sun set over fields I'd planted, fences I'd mended, land I'd earned. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, Grandma Eleanor. Dad gave me your number. This is Rose." Well, Dad is typing for me because I'm only 6 months old, but I wanted to say hi. Dad talks about you a lot. He says you're the strongest person he knows. I can't wait to meet you someday. Love, Rose Eleanor. Below the text was a photo. A baby with dark hair and serious eyes, frowning slightly at the camera. She looked like Liam, and she frowned exactly like me. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I saved it and typed back. "Hi, Rose Eleanor. Tell your dad I'm not ready yet, but maybe someday. When you're old enough to understand why Grandma had to teach your father what no means. I love you already. Grandma Eleanor." I hit send and set the phone down. Sarah glanced at me. "Was that Liam?" "His daughter," I said. He sent a picture. "Are you okay?" I thought about that. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am. Because here's what I learned. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. And being a grandmother doesn't require me to hand over the keys to the kingdom. Rose will know me someday, on my terms, in my house when I'm ready. Not because Liam demands it, not because Harper orchestrates it, not because anyone announces it at a party, because I choose it." That night, I locked my doors, armed my system, and walked through my house one more time. Every room told a story. The kitchen where I'd confronted the Sterlings, the bedroom where I'd locked myself in the night they invaded, the porch where I'd stood and watched them leave. This house had been a battlefield. Now it was a sanctuary again. And when I die, it will become a refuge for other women who need what I needed. A locked door, a deed with their name, a place no one can take. That's my legacy. Not the house itself, but what it represents. The right to say no, the power to choose, the freedom to live on your own terms until your very last breath. If you made it this far, I want you to do something for me. Look around the space you're in right now. Your house, your apartment, your room. Ask yourself, is this mine? Really mine? Or am I holding it for someone who's already decided what happens to it when I'm gone? If the answer scares you, it's time to make some calls. A lawyer, a locksmith, a witness to your life who will stand up and say she was competent. She was clear. She knew exactly what she wanted. Because your life is not a consolation prize for someone else's plans. Your home is not a family resource. And your future is not something that gets decided at a wedding reception while you clap for cake. So tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have packed quietly? Or would you have stood on your porch and told 3 strangers to get out of your house? Because sometimes, the bravest thing a mother, a grandmother, a woman can do is finally say no. This house is mine, and mean it. My name is Eleanor. I'm 64 years old. I own a farmhouse free and clear. And nobody, not my son, not my daughter-in-law, not anyone, will ever take it from me again. This is my story. But if it sounds like yours, maybe it's time to write your own ending. One where you keep what you earned, and you live how you choose, until the very last day.